I have some questions that we're gonna answer. I did Ask Me Anything on Reddit. Let me see if I can pull it up here. There it is. I didn't Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and I also posted on YouTube. I did answer the questions on there. Whatchamacallit, before I copied them all. But I figure we'll record this stuff, or at least get the VOD, and we'll put the VOD up on YouTube. And so, yeah. So we'll be going through all these. I filtered out the questions that seemed kind of like generic-y to the game itself. These are all questions related to the playthrough, to the world, to Vintage Story in general. Man, I'm like kind of like all nervous about it too. So how many questions do we have here? Some of these are from multiple questions from the same people. I don't have the names for all of them, just the ones like that I know that you guys submitted. So, all right, first question here. So when did you start this world and how long have you taken breaks from it? I started this world a year and a half ago. We've only played it on stream, so 4 hours, 4 days a week. Each day is 4 hours, so 16 hours a week. No breaks. We've just been pretty much playing the entire time, and then I do play occasionally on the weekend when I feel like it, but not a whole ton on the weekend. I definitely don't do a lot of building on the weekend. I save that for the stream. Next question was, what is your advice for someone wanting to do / start a forever world? That one was kind of tricky, I felt. Having a list of projects is always a good one. I actually have, like, we are scheduled out for builds till the end of the year. I have a schedule of builds that I have, like, that I want to get done by the end of the year, and they're all in there. So we are book solid on builds, and then I have a list of builds for after I get through that list. So there's always another build to do in my world. So, and then what is it? A lot of people like to restart their worlds and stuff. So I usually just, like, if I ever did want to restart, like, our map is big enough where I can just go to a different area and start building a new area, essentially. So half the current build by the end of the year. Yeah, the Holbeck Castle is literally slated for building until, well, obviously until it's done, but I do an estimate for when I start a build, how long it's going to take me. So, like, Holbeck Castle will probably take us another 2 months, right? Like, it's just the nature of it. If this tunnel gets rebuilt too often, you'll miss the schedule. This is true. I do factor stuff like that in, though, because I definitely am of the mindset where if I don't like something, I usually will just tear it down and rebuild it. So, okay. All right, well, at least I got that question answered for the most part. So we can edit. So the next question was this one. Might seem like a silly question, but I'm very curious to know, what is your highest generation animal, and if there are any stories behind it, i.e. lost very high generation ones to a bear, stuff like that. Then balloons be killing the computer. Yeah, they're killing my internet, bro. Highest generation animal is generation 10. I have not felt the need to go higher than that, and the only reason I have a generation 10 animal is because I was curious how the friendly mechanic works where they don't run away. So I haven't really experimented with any animal, like, husbandry stuff since I did that, and it's just a bunch of chickens that are trapped in Trinity Point. Yeah. I do have a build that is planned at some point next year for us to do, like, an animal farm type thing. But yeah, again, it's next year construction, not this year. So if you're looking forward to it, you have 2026. That's when I'm going to be doing probably the animal farm in the Trinity region. Let's see. This next one was favorite biomes / screenshots. I didn't include screenshots in the Reddit post. I since added some that I had. I don't have a lot of screenshots. Everything for this whole world is all recorded, so I never feel the need to take screenshots of anything. So I don't have any. My favorite biome is coastal cliff sides. I love building, like, along the coast. I feel like it makes for a really cool view, especially when you're sailing around the world. It's like one of my favorite things is, like, a coastal cliff city. Even in Minecraft, those were, like, my favorite, was to do it along the coast. So yeah. Poor chickens. Hey, they're not even on grass, just turned into a corner with rock and cobble. Hey, they're living at large in the city, all right? They're city chickens. They don't need grass, all right? They have cobblestone and stone. Hi, how many in-game years has it been over 1,000 hours? 4. It has been 4 in-game years at 30-day months. I think if we did the math and I did it to default, if I recall correctly, I think we would be somewhere, if we were doing the default 9-day months, we would be at year 9 or year 10. So default Vintage Story 9 or 10, 30-day months like what I'm playing on, we are at 4. So, all right, next question here is, would you recommend a 30-day month world? Does it make things easier or harder? Easier the first year. After the first year, it doesn't make a difference. And you could argue even the first year it might not make a difference, but I think having that extra time to like build and get prepared and find resources in before winter hits definitely makes it easier. So 30-day months I think makes it easier the first year. After that, it doesn't really matter in terms of difficulty. If you're a builder like I am, I definitely recommend 30-day months. It's a lot nicer not having to constantly stop building because it snowed. I hate the snow. I like it the first like few days it snows in the world, but after that I absolutely hate the snow in the game. It's so frustrating. You get slowed when you walk through it. You have to shovel it constantly just to be able to build in an area. Not a fan, but I think it looks amazing. So yes, I would recommend a 30-day month. That would be my recommendation. I think 9 days is too short. So I hate snow anywhere. Yeah, I mean, it looks amazing the first, like when it first snows and stuff, absolutely amazing in the world. I love it. But after that, it's just, ugh, so frustrating. Okay, this was a good question. What don't you like about the game, or what do you think needs improving? So I'm actually, let me pull up my answer to this, because I actually had a really long answer to this one that I thought was really, really good. Okay, so the biggest thing I don't like about the game, and this could be, I haven't done the tutorial inside the game in a very long time, right? So I don't know what changes they've made in the many updates that have happened since I played the tutorial. And this could just be also a personal thing, but I feel like games should be very learnable, especially for, so if I just came into Vintage Story and I wasn't streaming it and I was just on my own playing it, can I learn the basics of every mechanic in the game, or at least the main mechanics, just from playing the game? That means not reading a guide online, not having to watch a YouTube video, not having to go to Reddit and ask questions, not having to go to Discord and ask questions. Can I just play the game and learn how to play the game, like all the basics through? Obviously for advanced stuff, you know, you would have to read it. And I feel like Vintage Story suffers in the regard that a lot of, even like, they've done much better since I started, but a lot of the basic features are very hard to learn how to do it inside the game. Now again, the handbook is a great resource. I think some of the stuff in the handbook could be explained better, or it should be like less wordy and maybe explained a bit better. And like I said, again, the tutorial might kind of cover a lot of that stuff. The biggest like example I had for this was prospecting. Prospecting has to be one of the most annoying things to learn, even as a player. Like I just hate prospecting inside Vintage Story. It's like I like the idea of it, but it's like complicated. There's the percentages, and like it's like percentages of block that possibly could be for that ore inside of the chunk or something. It's just like, it's too much. Like, it's too complicated. It should just be like, I don't know if they need to make what it tells you very simple or what, but I feel like that's like a great example of something that's just way too complicated. That is a basic feature of the game. And even if there was like a higher level to it, explaining the basics, like, okay, this is what this all means. It's just not done very well, in my opinion. As for what I think needs improving with the game outside of that, so that was what I don't like about the game. Something I think needs improving in the game is the mechanical system, or like, what do they call it? The mechanical power, right? Windmills, water wheels, stuff like that. I think that whole system needs to be improved on. It needs to be added to. Maybe not even improved on, but added to, which they are doing in 122. the update that's coming out after obviously the one that's coming out recently or soon. The future update 122 is going to have a lot of mechanical power overhaul and or whatever they're going to do with it, add on something like that. So something that I think needs improving is actually going to be improved, which I'm looking forward to. And then I guess I kind of went on with this question a little bit more. Another thing I dislike, and this was more so with the community, and it is what it is, but I really don't like there's a mod for that mentality that you see with a lot of stuff regarding Vintage Story. I actually just saw a Reddit post today where someone was talking about how the elk, when you're running with the elk and he goes up a block, it's very janky. Like, it's like you stop and stutter and stuff like that. And one of the like first comments on this guy who was like, hey, you know, this is something I feel like should be improved for the game is, oh, there's a mod that fixes that. And I think it's a very dangerous mentality for Vintage Story to kind of like have. And it's also a really, like, in my opinion, it's kind of a shitty one, because it's like, if you're constantly just pushing and relying on mods to fix the problems for the base game, then what happens when that mod developer leaves or the mod just doesn't get updated? Now you have this mod that fixes a base thing that should be fixed inside the game, right? The elk should be a smooth riding mount. But if everybody just relies on the mod and it never gets fixed in the game because, well, there's a mod for that, and the mod author one day just doesn't want to update the mod anymore, well, everybody's kind of screwed at that point. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of that. And even on their suggestion forums, you see constantly, like, you'll make a suggestion and it's just people just telling you, oh, there's a mod, don't worry, there's a mod, we don't need this, there's a mod for that. And it's a very dangerous game for Vintage Story to play with, and I don't know, like, there's so many mods, for example, like the mannequin mod, you know, the vanity mod, spyglass, better fire pits. There's so many just quality of life mods that fix basic things in the game, but they're probably not going to get added anytime soon because there's a mod for that and everybody just uses that mod, and no one pushes the issue of, oh, we need mannequins to store regular clothing on and stuff like that, you know, simple stuff. So that's the other thing I don't like. That's more of the community, though. That's not really the game itself. That's more the community. But that was something I wanted to attach on to that question. So, that was a long one. That was a long question. All right, this one is from our community specialist, Solus. This was a good question. This was actually my top question here, I think, which, what is my favorite build in my world so far? One you may happen to enjoy looking at again and again. And this one might be quite surprising. I'd be surprised if anyone in chat could probably guess it. But the build I love the most in my world is the lighthouse, the Yarn Village lighthouse. I think I have a screenshot of it somewhere. That lighthouse right there, this is my favorite build in the game, even though it's like such a simplistic build. I like it the most, and the reason that I like it the most is because anywhere I go around that lighthouse, it looks good. I've literally I went into the game the one night after I finished building that lighthouse, and I went to different areas around it. Every single location around that lighthouse, the lighthouse just looks awesome. It just looks cool. It fits really well where it's at. And from Yarn City, the village there, which it was a close toss up with being Yarn Village as being my top favorite build. It looks good from there as well. Like, it just looks good. And then occasionally when you're like in that area and you're looking through trees and stuff and you see this like giant lighthouse, yeah, it's got to be my top build so far. I have a feeling Holbeck Castle is going to blow it out of the water though, just with how the scale and the detail that I'm doing with Holbeck Castle. I think Holbeck Castle will definitely take over this role, but right now it is the lighthouse. That's a great view as well. Yeah, that screenshot was taken from just outside of Yarn Village. So yeah, that lighthouse build is phenomenal, especially for a build. It was supposed to just be a really quick throw this up, you know, waste 2 weeks time on it. Like, it wasn't supposed to be anything crazy, and it turned into my favorite build. So I was very happy with how it turned out and surprised. Next question was that was a good question, by the way, so it's a very good question. How much of the map have I explored? In my world, I haven't gone more than 1 to 2 kilometers away from my base, other than the Resonance Archives. How far do you need to go to find all the game's resources? Not very far. You do not need to go far to find all the resources. I will say that. There is some stone that I have not gotten. But let me pull up a world map here on the screen that I have of my world. So this is my explored world so far here. So you can see it. This is everywhere I've been. It's really not that far at the end of the day. Like, this is Holbeck Castle up here. If you followed me building in the world, you know how far apart. This is Delrich Village, and then this is Trinity Point, and that's Yarn Village right there. So this is the area that we operate in for the most part on a daily basis, right? So everywhere that you see is an area that I've explored. The only exception to this is the Resonance Archives is really far. Well, not really far. It's like maybe 10k blocks off the side of the map here. So this was taken before I explored that. And then I also went like 25,000 blocks south. And that was to get the tree saplings that are only in the equator region, along with some of the flowers. Other than that, we've stayed in this small little central area here, and it has everything I need. I do have the underground mineshaft mod. That kind of helps with a lot of the ores that I get. So I don't know in a vanilla only world how difficult it would be to find some ores, but that being said, I have done a lot of caving, and I've found, I think, every ore that you can find in the game, like the vanilla game, inside those caves. And again, all within this region. So resource-wise, you can find everything in a pretty small area, except for some few outlier things that you have to go kind of far for. So the second to last question here. This is from another community member, Soggy Gravel. I think he's been on he said he's been on hiatus from the Vintage Story stuff for a while, but he was doing a lot of mod work. And he asked, this is from a YouTube comment, what got you into modding, and did you do modding before Vintage Story, and do you code for a living? So we'll start. I don't code for a living. I do work in IT, but I'm like a IT auditor. So I audit other companies' IT infrastructure and kind of advise them on ways to improve it and things that they need to do to lower their risk assessment, in other words. So yeah, I don't do programming. I've never really done programming outside of Vintage Story. So yeah, that's what I do. All right, so the second part of this question was, what got you into modding, and did you do modding before Vintage Story? So no, I didn't do modding before Vintage Story. I tried to mod Minecraft. I failed at it. I could not learn Java to save my life. I can probably barely do C#. I use a lot of AI for my modding, which I know some people frown upon. I don't really care. It's not like I'm getting paid to do my mods. So I'll do them however I want to do them. And honestly, the AI has worked relatively flawless. And honestly, the community has helped me as well. I know their Spear and Fang has helped me a ton with my mods and getting a lot of the aspects running. And honestly, without like his help, I probably wouldn't have made like the 4 or 5 mods that I have right now. I probably would have quit at some point, to be honest. As for what got me into modding, I actually took this question originally as what got me into using mods for Vintage Story, but what got me into modding was I wanted to add more creatures to the game. This was before the Bowtorn and the what's the other one? The Shiver were added to the game. I wanted more monsters in the game just to make, you know, combat a little more like necessary and fun. So I made a mod that adds like skeletons, zombies, slimes to the game. I think there was one other one. Oh, spider. Basically the Minecraft mobs to start. And that's what kind of got me into modding, really. I wanted to do that. And then I made the Chisel Pick mod because I wasn't too thrilled with the Stone Quarry mod. I think it's a great mod, but it does give you a little bit more resources than I think it should. So I wanted my own variant, and so I made the Chisel Pick mod. And then that led into the Wooden Torches mod, Wooden Torch Holder mod. And then the Time Tracker mod I made because the leaderboard mod stopped working that I used to keep track of how long I've been playing in my world. So I had to come up with an alternative, and I couldn't find one, so I made my own. So that mod that keeps track of my time in multiplayer, I made that. That is my mod. That one was a little bit of a hefty order to get working too. That took me a little bit. So, and then I also have the expanded growth mod and the NDL villagers mod. Those are just kind of fun little projects. The expanded growth mod was, what did I start that originally? Oh, I wanted the big super trees that you can't grow normally in the vanilla game. I wanted a way to grow them because they are awesome, and I wanted to build a really cool forest. I did build the forest, and I had the mod to help me with that. So that was cool. And then the villagers mod, I just wanted, you know, I have all these towns and stuff. I wanted villagers to populate them, so I made a mod that did that. So it's basically just stuff that I wanted in the game, and I made it happen. That's what got me into it, really. I wanted it in the game. All right, we got 2 more questions here, and both of these questions are from Bean, our community bear summoner. So, all right, so the first question was, how did you find Vintage Story and what made you want to play? So, I found Vintage Story via suggestion from Solus. So, I think, Solus, what the hell were we? We must have been playing Minecraft or something. And I remember you telling me that there was this other game out there that was like Minecraft, like Terra Firma Craft. That's right. I think I was using that mod at the time. You told me there's a game out there that's basically Terra Firma Craft. It's the same devs or the same like guys who worked on it or something like that. And you were watching, you were watching a streamer play it, and you sent me the link to the streamer and stuff and said, oh, you would probably like this game. I remember I kind of blew you off on it because I was like, I thought it looked cool. I was like, oh, it looks cool and stuff. But I was like, oh, it looks just like Minecraft, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward like another year, and you brought it up again because they just had the 1.19 update. And you were talking about some of the stuff they added, and you were showing me a streamer, and so I ended up just picking it up, and I jumped in and started playing it, and just kept playing it from there. I mean, shit, I think since I started playing in whatever, right after 1.19 when we had that server, and then I swapped to playing single player, I've been playing it since, literally. So yeah, that's the story that how I got into Vintage Story. You guys can thank Solus for getting me into the game. Honestly, like, probably wouldn't be playing it if he didn't suggest it. I probably wouldn't even have known about it, to be honest. So, Vintage Story to go. What's up, Michael? How you doing? And then Bean's last question, which was it's a very fitting question for Bean, and this is also the last question, by the way, unless you guys have some other ones here. Was, do you prefer fighting bells or bears? I definitely prefer fighting bears over the bells. Bells are very tanky, and God, the wailing, that sound that they make, I can take it for like 2 seconds, and then it literally just, like, it rings in your ear. It literally fits the name being a bell. Bears are, obviously, they hurt you a lot more, but with my steel armor that I have on, they're really not a big problem, and I can kill them, and then they give me resources. So I like fighting bears a lot better. If I had read that question without saying who asked it, I still would have known it was Bean. Yeah, it's kind of a giveaway, and then he put the little face that he makes whenever he summons a bear in there too. That's definitely a Bean question right there. Do I like fighting bells or bears? Nate is the GOAT Vintage Story streamer. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think I'm a terrible streamer, but I build. That's about it, and I chat. Yeah, so that's all the questions. That's our Ask Me Anything right there that I did for our 1,000 hours. I'll probably do another one for 2,000 hours in like a year and a half down the road. So if you guys are all interested in then. But yeah, 1,000 hours played in our world. We're gonna go back to playing now, and yeah, this will be a video up on the channel at some point. So yeah.